remarks. Those remarks have worried me because he's a co-chair of this committee. He seems to have taken a decision already, and so our presence here is irrelevant.
As a Ugandan.
That's very worrying.
Not as chair, but
no,
as
but
a
you
Ugandan.
see, as a chair, with due respect, you're supposed to be a neutral arbiter, because now you're intimidating all these people who have come to make presentations, because they want to make a presentation in opposition to the statement you have said. But now the judge is already passing judgment and saying, we cannot allow that. I want to request that we remain neutral, so that these people can share their views. Otherwise, when you pass judgment already, we can very well pack up our bags and go away, because you're just ticking a box. Also because, Honorable Baka, you see, clause 2A says engaging in the political activities in Uganda for or in the interest of a foreigner. And then clause 1B, a Ugandan citizen residing outside of Uganda is a foreigner. But those Ugandan citizens, they remit $2.5 billion per year to their country. They come back home every so often. They've got business interests. They've got children they're paying school fees for. So if government passes an education policy, why don't you want them to oppose it? Because they're interested stakeholders. Their children are going to school here in Uganda. And so we should be concerned and capture all of these issues. Finally, again, Honorable Baka has said, in the event that throwing the bill out is not an option, why isn't it an option? Why are you ruling it out, Honorable Chair? Because this committee is clothed with all of those powers. Committees have thrown out business of government several times. In fact, even today on the order paper, there are some which are meant to be withdrawn. So there is room for that. Kindly don't create an impression that this bill is a do or die. It has got to pass. You have got the authority. Just to remind you, you're a senior lawyer, you know, as a committee of parliament, this bill is really at the whims and fancies of this committee. This committee can choose to say, government, we don't agree with this bill. We have thrown it out. Except if you want to say you are on gunpoint. I don't believe you are. I don't believe you are. So please don't make a statement to say that in the event that throwing the bill out is not an option. Let's give our views, and then the committee members will decide. What if they vote overwhelmingly to say, let's throw it out?
Honorable LOP, I think you, so with due respect, you meant to misconstrue Honorable Baka's statement.
Yeah, that's why
the reason for our being here is that we are open to receiving all the views. Please? Yeah. Okay.
Most obliged. So I just, because as a colleague we can share, to say, these people here who don't know how to operate, they might think now it is finito.
Right, Honorable LOP.
It is
you know how we do our prayers in court. In the alternative, was you pray, these election petitions, but in the alternative,
yeah, but you see, as a petitioner in court, you can choose to say, for me, this is my only prayer. And then court decides. So court should not say, no, you cannot have just one prayer. But I'm the one coming to court, so I can choose to have just one prayer. I thank you, Honorable Chairs and colleagues.
Let me make a comment.
Thank you. I think we applaud the...
And for the questions that have come through, I'll begin with the one of Honorable Kai. Political Parties and Organizations Act regulates activities of political parties. And so everything about political parties is encapsulated therein. Your question about ISO is Internal Security Organization. And in their modus operandi, they work alongside the Ministry of Internal Affairs. So that's the nexus there is. Honorable Taylor mentioned that the movers of the bill, Internal Affairs and the Attorney General, seem to concede on a number of provisions. So I think what you're saying is, would it be okay maybe to alter some of those as opposed to total rejection? I think I'll tie that in with the last question about my remarks referring to this bill as legal redundancy. As I mentioned earlier on, we have a plethora of laws that capture the critical concerns that government would have, whether it be anyone flouting any law in as far as the relationship between Uganda and any other country is concerned, somebody out of the country and so on. I mentioned them. Anti-Money Laundering Act. The Penal Code Act captures a number of those provisions. And that's why I'm saying that this particular bill is irrelevant. The good lawyers, the majority of the members of the committee are lawyers, including the leadership of the committee. It is not helpful when you keep putting together pieces of legislation over things that are already taken care of. Again, you cannot have an act of parliament for anything and everything. Each act of parliament will encapsulate numerous issues. But the assertion that for anything and everything we must have an act of parliament, that means parliament would be sitting every single day to pass like 50 bills every day, which is not helpful. So my insistence is that we already have adequate laws that cover anyone that would bring in money into Uganda illegally, anyone that would trade outside of the law, anyone that violates any law in this country. None of us is above the law. Just because you're a member of parliament does not mean you cannot commit an offense and be taken on by the law. Should we now have a bill entitled an act of parliament legislating how a member of parliament gets arrested and arraigned in courts of law? Because a member of parliament is a citizen of Uganda. The Penal Code Act captures how any citizen who is assumed to have committed an offense gets to be arrested, taken to courts of law. Whether you are an ordinary citizen, whether you are a military person, whether you are an honorable member of parliament, and so on and so forth. So we cannot have a bill now for, this one is for members of parliament, this one is for councillors, this one is for ministers, this one is, you get the point I'm making. So that's really my general feeling. So it's redundant to that effect. That even when we alter and say, as the Attorney General is saying, okay, we can change the meaning of a foreigner so that Ugandans in the diaspora are not considered foreigners. So didn't these people prepare in their legislative drafting? Why did they not foresee that? That is very problematic. And that's why we are saying this bill is irrelevant, because the intention is not really the law. That's why now they are quickly conceding and saying, okay, let's adjust this, let's adjust the other. Clearly showing it is not relevant. We already have got a plethora of laws that provide for any breakage of any law by a Ugandan here or a Ugandan in the diaspora. The other day, Dr. Kizza Besigye was abducted from Kenya and brought here. They said he had committed an offense in as far as Uganda is concerned. Fair enough. Of course, what we have been saying is, can he have due process? Which has not yet happened. But he was picked up from Kenya. Is there any law? Yeah, they are referring to a number of laws already in place. Penal Code Act and so on and so forth, Anti-Terrorism Act, and all of the others. What we are saying, of course, is let due process happen, try the man, instead of being fungible all over the place. So I don't think, honorable colleagues, that we need to enact a law for literally everything. So in finality, again, I would like to entreat this committee. Let's not be seen to strip the people of Uganda of their sovereignty. The Constitution provides for the sovereignty of the people of Uganda. That sovereignty is not given by the executive. It is not given by this parliament where we sit, honorable colleagues. No. It is inherent and captured resultantly in our country's constitution. So that sovereignty is in place already. But we seem to want to take away that sovereignty, because sovereignty includes that as a Ugandan, I'm a stakeholder, I must be concerned about the happenings in my country. If I'm a taxpayer and I see my tax money is being stolen, I should have the right to voice out a concern and say Minister X, MP X is stealing my money. That should be my right as a citizen. But we seem to want to strip that away from them. Don't criticize. But why? They are stakeholders too. Why doesn't government want to be criticized? There should be no problem with that. But also saying that as a citizen, you are not supposed to critique government policy. Why? Because you see, we seem to now want to put it on paper that this government is authoritarian. That's what it appears to be, Honorable Chair. Because we are saying when government comes up with a policy, all of us must just oblige and follow. No citizen is supposed to critique it. But surely, What happened to participatory leadership? The people of Nyabushozi should have a say in whichever government policy you come up with, because they are stakeholders, they are taxpayers. You are their voice, and that goes, of course, for the people of Nakao, West, and whichever. We are their voice, but they should be able to participate. So when we sit in Parliament and come up with a law or a policy, they have a right to go on a radio station or to call into any program and say, I disagree with this government policy. But what this law is saying, when you criticize government policy, we are going to arrest you.
Which particular clause, LOP?
Honorable Chair, I have made my presentation, except if you want me to go back to it.
No.
I'm making my summary.
That criminalizes...
that if you are pushing through a policy, courtesy of a foreigner, against government policy, that's what you seem to be saying. So if a Ugandan says, I disagree with this particular policy, then you say, no, you seem to be influenced by foreigners to oppose this government policy. Let's give the people of Uganda a free rein to critique, to share their views, to give their input.
Thank you.
It's good for leadership. I thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let the co-chair say something.
I just wanted